Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to get into a really powerful story about how vulnerability can be turned into a weapon, how manipulators build our trust, and what happens in that one critical moment when doubt finally breaks through.
I mean, just imagine getting a message like this. It's urgent, it's personal, and honestly, it's terrifying. This isn't just some hypothetical, though. This is the exact hook used in the case we're looking at today, a message perfectly engineered to catch someone when they're at their absolute lowest.
So to really get how a scam like this actually works, you first have to understand who it's aimed at. Let's talk about a man named Thabo Milton Molalala, who, through absolutely no fault of his own, became what a predator would call the perfect target.
Look at this list. This wasn't just him having a bad month. It was a total cascade of crises, one after another. Losing his job, worrying sick about his mother, the money pressure, not even having his own bed to sleep in, it all created this perfect storm of stress and desperation. He felt invisible. And that feeling, well, that's exactly what predators are looking for.
And this is how they found him. The scammer, who called herself Sister Nimvala, didn't just randomly stumble across Thabo. No, she was hunting. Hunting in a place specifically designed for people sharing their pain and vulnerability. An online grief support group. It was a calculated, predatory move from the very beginning.
Okay, so once contact is made, the next phase kicks in. And this is all about methodical, careful grooming. This isn't random luck. It is a step-by-step process designed to systematically break down a person's defenses and build this really powerful sense of dependency.
And this slide just lays out the whole strategy. It's a 4-step playbook. Step 1, find your target. Step 2, hook them with flattery. Step 3, and this is the real kicker, create this illusion of psychic power just by using information that's already public. And finally, Step 4, just overwhelm them with constant contact until they feel like they need you.
This is the kind of bait they use to start it all. It's vague enough that it could apply to almost anyone, right? But for someone like Thabo, who feels totally lost and unseen, a message that says, "I see great light around you," is incredibly powerful. It makes him feel special. It makes him feel understood. All right, so they've built that initial trust. Now, the scammer completely shifts gears. The goal now is to turn that trust into pure fear by creating a fake, high-stakes, time-sensitive crisis that needs an immediate solution. A solution, of course, that only they can provide.
And this right here, this is the scam's main weapon, the so-called karmic window. It's a completely made-up deadline. But by putting this 21-day countdown on his salvation, the scammer basically short-circuits Thava's ability to think things through. It creates a panic that just screams for immediate action.
And, surprise, surprise, that immediate action has a price. The one and only solution to escape this awful 7-year curse is a very specific amount of money. But just notice the language here. This is so clever and so manipulative. It's never called a payment or a fee. Oh no, it's a seed of faith. This reframing is absolutely critical. It keeps the whole transaction in this spiritual realm, making it feel like an act of devotion, not a purchase. And that makes it so much harder to question. And then, bam, this is the hammer blow, the final threat. It combines that scary deadline with a sense of finality, of being abandoned. The message is crystal clear. Pay up now or you are completely on your own and the consequences will be absolutely dire. But here is where the story takes a turn. Because even under all of this immense psychological pressure, the most powerful tool any of us have is that small, nagging voice of doubt. And for Thabo, that voice was about to get a whole lot louder. And that voice of doubt came from a memory, the sharp, no-nonsense wisdom of his late grandmother. Just that one thought, that piece of inherited common sense, was the first real crack in the scammer's carefully built illusion. It was a reminder to be skeptical, especially when money and miracles get mixed up. And then came the hard evidence. A photo the scammer sent, supposed to prove she was working on his behalf right now, had a fatal flaw. A calendar in the background clearly dated 2019. It was a small mistake, right? Just a recycled photo. But it was the one piece of concrete proof that made the whole thing unravel. And once that one crack appeared, everything else just fell apart. All those miraculous visions suddenly had a very simple, logical explanation. The address she saw, it was in a public photo. His middle name, right there on his Facebook page. Knowing about his mother's stroke, he posted about it himself in the very group where she found him. It wasn't magic. It was just research. So, sensing she was losing him, the scammer played her final, cruelest card. She escalated the threat by going after the one person he cared about most, his sick mother. This is just a classic, nasty tactic of manipulation. When your logic fails, you just crank up the fear.
But you know what? That final threat totally backfired. Instead of scaring Thabo back into line, that cruel move was the final push he needed to stop being a target and start taking back his own control.
Just before he cut her off for good, he saw this number, her follower count. And wow, that is a chilling figure. It turns this from one man's personal story into something much, much bigger. It's a stark reminder of the potential scale of this kind of deception. I mean, how many of those almost 9,000 people were also in the pipeline? And what Thabo did next is basically a perfect blueprint for anyone who finds themselves in this situation. First, he trusted that gut feeling that something was wrong. Second, he cut off all contact, block, delete, gone. Third, he reported the account to help protect other people. And finally, he reconnected with reality, talking to his sister and focusing on real-world solutions, not fake promises.
And all of this leads Thabo to a really powerful new understanding of strength. True faith, he realized, wasn't about paying a stranger for a quick fix. It was about the hard, daily grind of getting up, updating his resume, caring for his family, and just facing reality, no matter how tough it was.
And that really leaves us with a critical question to think about, doesn't it? This whole story is a huge reminder that manufactured urgency is one of the biggest red flags there is. When someone is trying to sell you hope, but they put it on a ticking clock, you really have to ask yourself, what are you really paying for? And what is the true cost?